Rev up your engines! Today I'm going to talk about a common problem that happens all the time. This vehicle runs fine and then it just stops running. Then it starts right up again. Happens on a highway, happens in town, and it happens pretty infrequently. So let's get going. Now just guessing on a vehicle like this is totally futile. So we need some serious information. Out with the big scan tool. We're going to need some serious information on this thing. Hooking it up is simple. You just turn the key on so it's on the on position but not running. Then plug it into the data port, which is under the dash right here. And this launch is wireless, so push the Dodge and we'll start out. Now it can take a while because there's an awful lot of information that's stored in the computer that we're going to have to look at. Because let's face it, in the olden days, something that would die maybe once a month or once every couple of months was pretty much impossible to track down. But with this modern technology, we get a lot better idea of what system can be breaking down. But now it's figured out what vehicle it is, so we'll push OK and start analyzing stuff. System scan. The first thing we're checking for are obvious trouble codes. You probably won't have any, but you always have to check that first, because you always check the obvious things when trying to figure out why a car acts up every once in a while. It's doing its thing. It's 37% done. It hasn't found any codes yet. Ah, there's one. Now in this case, even though the check engine isn't on, there's trouble codes stored. So just because your check engine light isn't on doesn't mean that there's not codes that a mechanic can access. And now it's done. It's a typical Chrysler. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 23 separate fault codes. Now we got to analyze all these codes and break them down to see which one could make the vehicle actually stop running. Typical Chrysler, it's got a whole bunch of problems, but a lot of them are ancillary stuff, doors, the gate, the radio. The main thing we're going to be looking at is the body control module, because that controls all kinds of things in the vehicle. Well, the body control code was for the front fog lamp, so well, it's not bad either. So here we go. None of those codes that a mechanic can get with a fancy tool is going to help us figure out why the stupid thing died. Now we got to be logical and think, what's going to make a vehicle conk out? Well, now comes the fun of looking through all the data on the vehicle to see if there's any bad data using my mechanic's brain. So we have to go through all these things to see if any data is really offline. Well, that was a lot of information. It made all the way to the W, the washer fluid, and that was fine. Couldn't find anything that had bad data, so none of the data's off. But of course, all is not lost. This thing can check systems to see when there was fault, and it actually found that it did have a triggered fault, and it says trigger fault caused by the programming. And being a Dodge, that doesn't surprise me. They have computer problems up the wazoo as they age. A customer told me, hi, this thing was going down the road, working fine, then it just died, going 60. But then it started right back up again. It's more a classic sign of something's going wrong in the computer system. It could also be a weak fuel pump. So I pressure tested that, and it shows perfectly fine now, but I kind of figured that out because it's running perfectly fine. And anyways, if the fuel pump went bad and it died on the highway, it wouldn't start right back up again. Now, to be absolutely sure of my diagnosis, of course, I would have to drive this thing with the computer scanner hooked up until it actually died. I'm going to try that for half an hour, but let's face it, nobody's going to be paying me $100 an hour to drive this thing around. If it happens once a month or once every 3 months, that's going a little bit too far. But now I'm using even more brain power. I'm looking up every technical service bulletin for this crazy thing. And here's one. It says recall. Alternator may fail, resulting in engine stall. Now, I did test the alternator with my machine. It shows it's okay now, but when you have a recall like that, it can be that it stops working, it starts working, it's electronic. So I'm going to have the customer take it in and see if they'll give them a free alternator at Dodge. I printed a copy of this recall notice that I could hand it to my customer. The main thing you need is the campaign number, but the whole piece of paper explains the whole recall on the alternators that he can show to the dealer. Now, being a professional mechanic, I use All Data Repair to get all this information. But of course, you can get all recall notifications from the NHTSA website. As you can see here, you just put your vehicle identification number in, and you could look up any vehicle you have here in the United States. It's been 3 weeks. The customer called me. The dealer gave him an alternator for free. Said the old one was breaking down, which makes sense. If you don't have enough electricity to run the ignition and the fuel system, it can knock all the computers out and the car will stop running. But I do have to say I'm not holding my breath on that one. It is a 9-year-old Dodge, and it had all those different trouble codes in it. I wouldn't be surprised at all if there was also something wrong with the computer system of the car that was starting to break down. I see that an awful lot in the Dodge products, especially when they have all those different trouble codes. A lot of times it means the main circuit board is starting to break down inside the computer. But let's hope that it's a permanent fix that'll last for a long time, and this stupid thing won't just stop running in the middle of nowhere for something that no one can actually figure out the reason underlying that death. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.